We are back to continue the day of Hearthstone Grandmasters from the European region, and we have Bunnyhoppor versus Jarla coming right up for you guys. Jarla just coming off the back of a 3-0 sweep with his mage, and Bunnyhoppor looking pretty good with the question mark bans for both players as they are just coming in right now. These are the four classes that the players have got here, and this might be a long one, Sottle, as we know how these two players like to play. Jarla wasn't too slow there, though. But what do you make of the lineup? Does anything really stand out for you?
Certainly Bunnyhoppor's Control Warrior, which we did not get to see in the previous series. But it's a deck that we did put a little bit of testing into because I was curious about it. I was personally expecting to see a lot of Highlander decks come into the format this week. Highlander Rogue, Highlander Hunter, etc. So I was curious why you would then choose to bring a no-win condition Control Warrior as a deck into that format. So I was curious. We tested out a bunch of matchups, and as I said earlier, I was having the miserable time of just having to play Control Warrior against Highlander Rogue, where it's hard enough to even get to the late game, let alone like find some way to win the late game against infinite Dragon Lackeys and whatever else. So yeah, I'm still a little bit lost on like where this deck comes into play. I guess just in Last Hero Standing. This is the deck that Bunnyhoppor is bringing to allow him to leave Demon Hunter up, maybe, and then he can, just counter queue with this because there is a ton of armor gain and removal in the deck. It just doesn't really do a lot else. But yeah, I'm really interested to see if we'll get a series now with the Control Warrior unbanned and what kind of role it's going to play.
I think it might be unbanned and potentially even unplayed, because one of the issues is you want to leave Demon Hunter up, can't leave it up if it's not there. Jarla, as we talked about before the break, isn't really bringing any aggressive decks, not normally aggressive. Even his warrior is actually a bomb/control warrior, so it's not even, the pain warriors that we've seen that can be aggressive, can be high burst damage combos. It's just bombs and removal tools. So Bunnyhoppor might now be hitting a point where he ran into maybe the one person he did not want to with his warrior, because what does he actually beat? Does he really outvalue or beat out mage? I don't think so on average. Does he beat out the warlock? Questions.
I think that is
the warrior. Probably not. I think warlock has limitations, doesn't it?
I think if Bunny's going to play Control Warrior, and he is, no surprise, it's not being banned in this series because I think it's a very weak deck against Jarla's lineup. I think the one of the decks where he can kill them all, because this is just essentially kill them all warrior, is perhaps that Warlock, because it does have limited threats. It has a lot of threats, but it has a finite number of threats. It will run out. So I think that's possible, but I think just in general, this is a bad matchup for Bunnyhoppor, and actually that's reflected because if you look back at Bunnyhoppor's Swiss record, he was 5-2. His 2 losses were to Boston, but then also a 1-3 to Jarla in the final round in round 7. So they did play very recently towards the end of at the end of the day yesterday, and Jarla did come out on top on that one.
Yeah, so then my question is, we have talked about Jarla's lineup, we did just see most of it, although the mage is going to be banned out, so he has his warlock, his warrior, and his rogue going into this series. But for me, Sottle, here's a question we're kind of discussing before the broadcast, actually. Does Bunnyhoppor queue his control warrior as a throwaway game 1, just because it's not great in this matchup? Or does he save it to try and take down the Galakron Warlock if Jarla plays it?
Well, sure, you can try and line up your warrior into a matchup where you feel okay playing it, but I don't necessarily think Bunnyhoppor's going to be in the position where his warrior is the best deck to play against any of Jarla's options. So I don't necessarily think there's any real reason to save it as a snipe deck in that regard. So I guess you could just throw it out as a throwaway deck
and hope it just gets there. Just hope it randomly gets not random. Okay, I'm selling Bunnyhoppor short here. Hope the deck can manage to get a win, and if that warrior deck gets 1 win in this series and then gets hard countered and beat, that's just fine for Bunnyhoppor. I think if he just gets 1 win, call it a day, done, and move on to this slightly stronger decks in his lineup, as that's definitely feels like the hurdle for Bunnyhoppor to get over is this warrior deck.
Yeah, but with Bunny's Demon Hunter banned, his other 2 decks, his Rogue and his Mage, I think are just fine in this series. Honestly, I think those two are pretty solid. So the other option is just to lead out one of those and just try and sweep 3 with those 2 decks and just never give the win to your opponent on your warrior potentially, and just try and do it that way around. Because we take a look now at the Galakron Secret Rogue, different from the Highlander Rogue we've seen in the previous series. This is a 2-OBS deck, but we did see Bunnyhoppor playing it in the previous series. Leaning on the secret package more than the stealth package. Most players seem to be agreeing that you can only really find room for one of those packages in your deck, unless, like Jarla, you are playing the Highlander version of the deck, and then you can just kind of sprinkle in a little bit of everything.
Right, and that's the interesting part. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the full secret package works in the 2-OF list, because it's not something I've played too much myself. I've been leaning way more towards the Highlander list variant, where, yeah, you play one of each secret most of the time, but also with Hanar, you can generate a ton more secrets anyway, so a lot of the time it doesn't really matter. So we'll see who can get the best of it in the rogues, but I do agree, maybe because this is last hero standing, Bunnyhoppor just writes off the warrior and says, my other 2 decks are good enough. I'll just win with them. It's fine. Warrior is a worst case. If I'm down in the dumps and need like one win out of nowhere, maybe it gets there. But yeah, I think it really is going to be a story of, can the other decks get the job done? And with that mage banned out, we aren't going to see another 3-0 sweep again from the mage, at least from Jarla. That was pretty incredible, actually. I did not expect that in the last series.
Yeah, pretty awesome. But isn't it just nice and refreshing, Raven, to be able to have like an extended conversation about pick order and queue order, and it actually means something in this format? Isn't that cool? I was going to say,
I think those conversations did happen. They just didn't really mean anything. Was the issue recently. I think everyone manages to slip in a queue order discussion now and again, maybe every other tournament. But yeah, it is. And you can see the impact, right, as well, because I think it was very easily displayed last match where Jarla won the second mage game against like a hard matchup, i.e. the Hunter from Tice, and then it just looked so much better for Jarla because, well, not only was he 2-0 up, so it's going to look great anyway, but the rest of the matchups weren't so bad. But you can see what Group A is looking like. We have Bunnyhoppor versus Jarla. It's happening just in a minute. Let's go decide who goes through to Sunday right away. And then we have Felkine versus Tice a little bit later on. And then that winner will play the loser of Bunnyhoppor.
Yeah, clearly these two are starting as they mean to go on here. They're roping their ban decision. They're roping their first pick decision. They're going to rope turn 1. They're going to rope turn 2. Settle in, boys. These guys don't do anything quickly.
Imagine if just out of nowhere they play like faster than Casey or something. You know what I mean? Like, they just sort of shock us, and we can't even cast it so fast. But I do sound like they're either getting into a practice game or getting into the actual game. So we'll see what that's like in just a second. But yeah, that's going to be Group B that we'll be covering tomorrow. Boston, Hunter-Ace, Swids, and Viper are going to be playing out the exact same format from today. And that's going to be the second 2 players to go through on Sunday and really egg for those like max points for the week number 2 of Grandmasters so far. And all this is building up to those 4 round robin weeks, which is going to be huge.
Yeah, I cannot wait, honestly. It's a nice way to like build the anticipation again, I guess, to what we were seeing last year from Grandmasters. Now we kind of have that little tease of, this preliminary stage with the Swiss rounds before we get into the real meat. And of course, the stakes are huge in terms of what these points from the original Swiss weeks mean when it comes to dividing the players into the upper and lower groups.
Yeah, and especially once we consider, this is just so different to last year where already we're on week 2. Week 2 is going to be over soon. Next minute we'll be on, the round robin, then we'll have done the playoffs. After that, 3 people out, 3 new people in. Like that already for season 2, right? It's insane. We're going to lose 3 Grandmasters at the end of this season, and we're going to gain 3 new ones in every single region. So the cycle of the real battle for not only staying as a Grandmaster, but also for all the players across the world competing in the Open Cups and the Masters Tours to try and get one of these spots that has become much more available to players compared to last year.
And I think that's important. Like, if you'll allow me to get on my soapbox for a while, like both of these players, for example, Jarla and Bunnyhoppor, these are 2 players that did appear through Open systems. Bunnyhoppor was a qualifier in like the very first Open HCT event. When we moved away from the Invitational era originally and moved to this format where it was much more open, Bunnyhoppor was one of the first players to appear. Jarla followed a little bit after him. And then, based on that, they're now regarded as two of the very best players in the world. So it was a little disappointing last year when the Grandmasters system felt closed, because you don't give the opportunity to those players who are potentially some of the best in the world to qualify through an open system and take their spot at the top table. Whereas now, with so much more churn through relegations and new players coming in, I think we will see the cream rising to the top a lot quicker. I think that's very important because the players in the Masters Tour system need to be motivated. They need to feel like Grandmasters is an attainable goal. And I think it is much more this year than it was last year.
Yeah, and since these guys took the time, I'll take just a little bit longer just to say, for anyone listening who is interested, they have doubled the amount of players who can participate in the online qualification cups, I think next week, or soon anyway. Hearthstone tweeted about it, so you can check it out on there. So basically, there's like over 1,000 spots in the cups now, which is insane, which means you're even more likely and have more chances to play, more chances to qualify, so good luck to everyone doing that. But for now, we're going to get back to our game, Sottle. Bunnyhoppor versus Jarla in the winners side of Group A. Bunnyhoppor is going to be on the Rogue, and guess what? Jarla is also going to be on the Rogue, but Highlander versus 2 of.
Yep, we did take a look at these deck lists before things kicked off. There are, of course, a myriad differences between the two decks, with it being 2 of versus Highlander. But personally, I know like we've kind of got a bit of a divide across these lines as well, because you've been playing a ton of Highlander Rogue, and I've been playing a ton of just straight up Galakron Rogue. And so I'm interested to see how this will play out.
Yeah, me too, because you can very clearly see the strengths and weaknesses as well, right? Because you have access to not only just Zephyrus Alexstrasza for like uber late game, you said, oh, it's hard to outvalue a rogue. It's hard to outvalue a rogue that also has like Alexstrasza Shadow Step or Zephyrus Shadow Step, right? Like that's insane. But also the consistency at which Bunnyhoppor on the 2 of rogue can get a strong Galakron off with a 4 card is way higher than Jarla will be able to. So it's not even for me, even though I favor the Highlander, it's not just, oh, this one's better. Yeah, I think they're both just a bit different, honestly, and it's very much down to preference.
I am interested by this card, the Dragon Sword that Bunnyhoppor's just drawn. He's playing 2 of Dragon Sword, I guess, as activators for the Vendetta package, which he's playing 2 copies of Vendetta as well. But it's not really a card I ever expected to be being played as a 2 of in a list like this.
Yeah, much more common to see Highlander play just 1 Dragon Horde, and sometimes not even that. But I will say, I think, especially in a semi-aggressive meta, i.e. Demon Hunters exist, the getting a Vendetta off versus not for 4 or 0 mana is huge, right? Like the difference is insane. Yep. And if, as you said earlier, Bunnyhoppor's kind of building a lineup he thinks can beat Demon Hunter, I think it's worth it, just purely down to activate Vendetta more often.
Yeah, a wise man once said, no one has ever spent mana on Vendetta and won a game of Hearthstone. Except it was me, and then Orange immediately spent mana on Vendetta and then won a game of Hearthstone. And that's why he's relegated.
I see, I passed you the spice rack for this match, so...
Well, I mean, you've been trying so hard to annoy people today, I feel like I have to step my game up.
Oh, it's no effort, Sol, trust me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I've annoyed you for many years for you to understand that one.
Yeah.
But the Skyvateer coming down for Jarla, basically just going to be a draw another card. The minion itself doesn't really do tons by itself. Maybe semi-anti-aggro. Not a card I'm personally a fan of, honestly, Sol.
Skyvateer?
Yeah, and I can't even really tell you why.
But sometimes you play this and then you play Greyheart Sage and you draw 2 cards, Raven. It's the nuts.
For me, it's because I enjoy the secret package too much, and those 2 things don't often overlap.
Yeah, I mean, we're also divided on that, because when I say I played a bunch of 2 ofs Rogue, I've actually been playing stealth cards and not secret cards. So, yeah. As always, Raven, we disagree on just about everything.
Yeah, I mean, when you combine us 2 and these 2 decks, it is just the alignment chart from D&D, right? Because Bunnyhoppor's playing 2 of with secrets. Jarla's playing Highlander without secrets. I play Highlander with secrets. and it just goes on and on.
Bunnyhoppor picks up Valdris Felgorge for the card draw, I guess, in late game proceedings, which is actually not a bad card for Rogue. I know, like, Rogue versus Rogue doesn't always end up in, like, the super grindy value battle, but if you do get into a grindy value battle with Rogue, you'll know that, like, hand size actually does become a pretty significant problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, being able to hold 2 extra cards is actually kind of relevant.
Yeah, and unfortunately, looks like we do not have the Zephyrus choices. I don't know if you saw them, Sottle.
I did not, sorry.
Okay, so apologies about that one, but there is an Earth Shock coming out here, more than likely for this Loot Hoarder, but Zephyrus question mark for me? So was that really a play this turn?
I don't know if he was looking for something else that didn't get offered here,
but
I don't know what that would be. Yeah.
This is a secret card I don't know about that just wins in the game. I mean, he even had reasonable plays. Just passing would have been fine. Well, Dagger would have been fine, I mean. He could have just played Underbelly as well. That wouldn't have been the worst play I've ever seen. Out of 2-3? I mean,
I don't know if I necessarily agree with the daggering would have been fine assessment here. I think, like, Jarla doesn't want to fall too far behind on tempo here, because I think, you know, on average, Bunnyhoppor with the more consistent curve with the 2-of should have the tempo advantage in the early game. Whereas Jarla with, you know, the Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and all that extra stuff should have a value advantage if it comes down to it. So I think, you know, if this was just a Zephyrus for an Earthshock, then it does kind of play into that idea, right? Where you're just trying not to take too much damage early, and you're also just denying your opponent card draw, which gives them, you know, early game tempo options.
I guess, yeah. I mean, for me, the Underbelly's there that he could have played, and also the Zephyrus deals with the same problem a little bit later and maybe a little bit better. So if you lose tempo now for a turn or so, Zephyrus can probably gain you that tempo back anyway. So I don't know. It felt weird for me. It felt weird.
I agree. It was a strange looking play.
Jarla does have choice of coin into 5-drop for next turn if he wants to expend the coin. But for now, Bunnyhoppor dropping the Ancestral Guardian down now.
Wow. Max tempo.
Oof. Okay.
Backstabbing the 3-2 to preserve a 2-1 here with an Edwin in his hand as well.
I will say the Ancestral Guardian is a nightmare to deal with, I feel like, for almost every class. There's just no nice way to deal with it, especially if you're a weapon class. You end up taking a ton of damage. This could be a bit of a problem here. Jarla, as I mentioned, does have the coin 5, but now he has the Bone Wraith.
He also has like coin SI Dagger, which does deal with the Ancestral Guardian, but as you mentioned, it's not pretty, is it?
No, it never is. Never is with that guy. Maybe Bone Wraith and just try and use the coin. But, his hand feels very clunky. There's just too many minions.
Secret cards with not a secret to be found.
Seal Fate Discover, no problemo.
Seal of Fate into Ethereal Lacking.
Yeah, and then just you always discover Bamboozle here.
Sure. Second invoke for Bunny. Jarla's still on 0, I believe. Yes,
sounds like Highlander Rogue to me.
Yep, yeah, pretty much.
And this might look a little bit strange with no secrets, but the key thing to know about Hanar is he's a 1/5.
Yes.
Pretty hard to deal with. It's why a lot of the time I think initially undervalued him. I had a lot of people telling me you keep him in your opening hand and just play him on 2. I don't always go for that, but I do find myself often just playing him as a minion if it fits in my turn and saying, well, if you want to deal 5 to this, fine, because that's probably going to be quite hard to do and use up most of your turn.
Yep.
Oh, Jarla well and truly falling behind here, and there's not much he can do about it.
No, I think this is just the relationship between the two decks, right?
Yeah.
Where when you get to play 2 backstabs and, you know, 2 shadow steps and 2 seal of fates and all that kind of stuff, your early turns are just a lot smoother. You get to do multiple things, you get to make big tempo plays, whereas here, it's a bit of an issue because your hand gets very, very clunky for Jarla. And honestly, this was his only opportunity at a tempo play, was to hit the Pharaoh Cat out, which he then did with the Winged Guardian to activate his Underbelly Fence, because otherwise his whole hand was just super funky.
I think for me, the only other thing I could come up with was Shield of Galakrond into exactly deal 2 Lackey to just take out the first wave of the Guardian. And that is obviously still not a great turn, but it is even something to progress the game, right?
In terms of immediate tempo, it's not really doing anything, is it? Because the 4-1 and the 4-2 Reborn, in terms of tempo, are the same thing.
Yes. Yep. So Bunnyhoppor has a couple of choices now. A part of me likes Twin Tyrant, honestly. Because he has stuff to do for now. He could use the, he's going to go for it, yeah. He could use the Devoted Maniac this turn, which I think fits very well with almost any Lackey outcome anyway. And the Twin Tyrant just often reads kill 2 rogue minions, just straight off the bat, because they don't really play anything with much more health. And it's just something to do a little bit more with the late game that isn't just straight up Valdris and hope.
The best rush Lackey I've ever seen. Rushing a 1-1 into a 1-2. But it'll do.
So again, another question here for Jarla. He's got a few options. He could Krunks and just bite the bullet here and take another 5 potentially next turn, but have a Galakrond, which again doesn't do much at this point in the game for him. He could flick the 4-1, but again, feels horrible. Is this again just Shield of Galakrond and hope for a half-decent Lackey? Doesn't feel great, does it? And also, all of this clunkiness, I'm going to say, is just making this Valdris in Bunnyhoppor's hand more and more powerful, right? Because he has the time to play it. He has the wiggle room to just drop a 7-mana 4/4. And then after that, you've got to wonder how Jarla's even got a chance at coming back if Bunnyhoppor can draw that many cards. It's going to go for the flick. Ooh. Ooh.
Wow. Wow. That draw. The literal turn when you're going to expend your Vendetta activator. There's a 4/4 on the board and you draw the Vendetta. Damn.
Strong plays. And look at the draw. Not only the hand size being bigger that she can't really visualize right now, but Bunnyhoppor's just got stuff that's way more playable than Jarla right now.
3 out of 4 on Invokes. He didn't find either his last Invoke or his Galakrond, which I think would have been the most powerful things he can find. He did find Lackeys and Heist Baron Togwaggle, though, which is a very close second.
And honestly, with this on board, he still has, like, at worst case, the Twin Tyrant to just slam down against any form of, you know, push or even up Jarla can try and do on the board here. On Jarla's end, though, it's just still not looking good, is it? Does he just have to play Winged Guardian and just hope?
I think so. There's not a great deal that Rogue really does against Winged Guardian. As it so happens,
the sap man, isn't it?
Twin Tyrant is one of the better answers, but yeah, of course the nuts would be for Bunny to just draw the secret.
Or generate it with all the Lackeys. We'll see. Boom Pistol fully.
Okay.
Jarla really clutching at straws this whole game and just trying to hold on.
Yeah. So he's going to try and use this to force a slow turn out of Bunnyhoppor, because you can see how much of an impact that has on Bunny's hand. So he's going to try and use this to force a slower turn out of Bunny, and then essentially use that slower turn to unlock some of these greedier cards in his hand, which seems very reasonable now that I look at it. Bunny just really needed to draw an Evil Miscreant activator to kind of mitigate most of that, though. Of course, Evil Miscreant and Edwin are combo cards, not Battlecry cards, so they're not affected by the Boom Pistol Bully.
So, my question to you, Subtle.
Yeah.
Is Bunnyhoppor past the point of overly caring about this Edwin? And does he use it to activate the Miscreant?
I hate it.
Okay. Do you hate it because of High Sparrow and the potential Galakron?
I mean, I'd be okay with it if you could actually then play the lackeys that you get this turn, but you can't, right? Like,
well, it's likely you can, right?
No, because they cost 6.
Oh wait, of course. Yeah. I'm so stupid.
I hate it, Raven.
Okay, yes, I'm an idiot. For some reason, I had it in my brain that lackeys were combos, so never mind, ignore me. This is a better turn.
Yeah.
Well, there's Galakron. Does he just have to play it so at least Krunks is up so he can AoE the turn after?
He is on 0 invokes, so there's not even really a huge upside to playing the Shielded Galakron first, because you'd have to draw exactly a second invoke before you drop this Galakron.
And that's a whole turn away, and you have to expect, if you're not going to forward card Galakron, then your Galakron turn is going to be 7 mana past 9 times out of 10, right?
Ooh, he's going for it, though. In that case, is it 4/4 Edwin alongside it? Now that he hit Faceless Lackey, maybe not, because he can develop a pretty similar amount of power just with the Faceless Lackey a lot of the time.
No, still dagger.
Okay.
Well, you know it's a really good card.
Twin Tyrant.
Oh, there's Bamboozle. Do you think Bunnyhoppor will go for the evolve on the Twin Tyrant, or will he be more than happy at a 4/8?
The evolve on the Twin Tyrant. Oh, with Lackey. Sure.
I'm not saying he has to, but just an option he had to make maybe a more threatening minion.
I'm suspicious now that this is a High Sparrow turn and not a Twin Tyrant turn, because I think if you were going to do it that way, you would have gone Twin Tyrant and then used Evolve Lackey on something. Probably the Evil Miscreant rather than the Twin Tyrant itself. Yep. Because you want the, like, vanilla good Lackey to play on your Togwaggle turn, right? You'd rather have just Spell Lackey, I can just play this on any board and it's good, and then I'll drop my Togwaggle. So the fact that he's doing it this way around makes me a little bit suspicious this might just be the High Sparrow turn right now.
I don't like it if it is. Because, like, he can't use the ability the same turn, so the wand or whatever. So then why bother, right? Okay, he's going for the Twin Tyrant, okay.
It's fine. I mean, it's a very, very minor thing. It just kind of got my spidey senses tingling that I personally would have liked to do it the other way around and use the Evolve Lackey there instead, but I do definitely agree that the Twin Tyrant was the stronger turn.
Yes. And now this is kind of leading on to the issue I said. I felt like Galakron had to be played last turn just so Krunks does something.
So many options.
Are you impressed we're in like match 3 of the day and I've not even spoken about Krunks in Rogue yet?
I am, actually, yeah, extremely.
It's been tough, Sol. I've been forcibly restraining myself.
Do you wanna tell the story now you've brought it up?
It's fine. Okay. No, but most importantly, Krunks is kind of stranded right now in the hand, which is why I really like the Galakron last turn, because the board was only going to get more of a problem, I feel, for Jarla.
Yeah.
And now I don't know when he's planning on playing cards. You know what I mean? It's just a magical scenarios for me then. I didn't even glance at him while he played Dragon Horde, and I was like, why is someone just giving Jarla a scenarios? Is this like, here you go, mate. You're not doing so well. Try this out.
Yeah, I didn't see them on my spectator feed either, so I also got the magical scenarios.
It's like the completely broken thing in the Hearthstone is Home animation, where the mouse just gives her the best card for the board. It's like, oh, here's Deathwing. It's like, wait, you can't do that. Like,
yeah.
Well, you know what is a good card against the Winged Guardian? A 1-mana go-away card, which is going to be available if Bunnyhoppor wants to play Bamboozle, and I cannot imagine a world in which he doesn't.
It's a really so solid sick. Bamboozle board as well, right? Like, Bamboozle boot? I don't know.
I thought you said something else then, Sol.
Completely forgot how to English for a second, but that's fine.
I mean,
look at this turn.
A lot of the people we have to work with forget about how to English most of the time, so
Oh, that is fair.
At the end of the world. Yeah, even like the Psycho Pump as a bamboozle is great, isn't it?
Right, I know.
3-1 into a 7-drop.
Yeah, he rolled a 3-1 as his 4-drop, which is obviously kind of obnoxious, but yeah, it's not like it's a dagger target. Like, honestly, even without the bamboozle, it's not like it's a dagger target, because your opponent's at 9. True. Like, you can't just dagger a 3-1.
I'll say it again, but I really think Jarla needed to bite the bullet on that Galakron turn.
Well, he is now getting his 2-0 mana cards out of the 1. He did draw that extra invoke we were talking about, but he does look like he's in serious trouble here unless this is absolute turbo nuts.
I can tell you what it's not going to be. It's not going to be Zephyrus, is it? So I think that's going to be game.
I mean, not quite.
Yeah, okay.
He has Vendetta and 8 points of Rush. We're not.
Yeah,
we're not
the
over
Vendetta
yet,
being live is huge. But there's also Bamboozle. Here we go. What's the best 4-drop it could be? I think even Bunnyhoppor's disgusted at that outcome.
That, Raven, that is the best 4-drop it could be.
I told you, Bamboozle's insane. Oh, we're laughing. Jarla's upset. I think Bunnyhoppor's a bit upset, honestly. He's like, wow, I didn't want to do this to my friend. But yeah, this is not looking great. The 1 still in hand for Bunnyhoppor. He could just rip this turn with no real negative outcome. And with only 12 cards left, it's getting more and more likely Bunnyhoppor hits Galakron. Can I get a Galakron check, please, Sal, for Bunnyhoppor?
Invokes 3 out of 4.
Yep, 3. Okay.
More importantly, I think he has 11 on board right now. So he has lethal outs, which just eviscerates and things that generate spell.
Galakron's lethal, right?
That's true. Well, no, he only has 3 out of 4 invokes, so he needs the 4th one.
No, with Chronix.
Or with Chronix, sure.
Yep. If your Galakron's for 0. Should he have wanded first? Like, I guess wand isn't a 6/6, but I think I like 1 there, honestly. Still just gonna put the pressure on.
No, he's not playing. Okay, sure.
He's just getting him with a dagger, the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, seems fine.
Scenarios coming in clutch.
He just simplified the board down to the point where the best card that Jarla could have, which was Chronix, essentially, just did nothing. He played a 6/6, he retained a 4/10, and he traded off all the minions that would have died to the Chronix.
And also, he still gets work done through the Winged Guardian, right? Because he's got the dagger equipped as well. He could have daggered anyway, but he knows the Winged Guardian is there for 9 mana. Now, 1 secret away from a good time here for Bunnyhoppor, as he can bounce one of these if he gets one. I assume he's going to start Wand? Wait, does he not need it? Am I blind?
Backstab 6.
Oh, he doesn't need it. He's got Vendetta.
Just
yeah, never mind.
Vendetta is just lethal, yeah.
So he paid mana for Vendetta, and I think he's going to win the game. Bunnyhoppor joining the ranks with orange of players who have made Sottle look silly, but he is going to take the win there. And yes, there was the pretty crazy bamboozle, but even if that was just your average 4-drop, I think the game looked very, very tough for Jarla to dig himself out of that one. Bunnyhoppor's going to take a win with his rogue and get to queue it again, because we are in last hero standing, so he's looking pretty good this series so far. It was a crazy game, that.
Yeah, even without the bamboozle, his second Faceless Corruptor would have got to have made a slightly better trade.
Which
yeah. Who cares? That game was super over at that point. And again, it was just kind of what we talked about, which was Bunny being ahead on tempo for the majority of the game. And I guess a really big talking point there is Jarla's decision to counterfight so early with the Zephyrus to try and block off some of the tempo. But that didn't work, and then he found himself needing big board clears in the late game anyway. I will say that probably wouldn't have helped anyway, because Bunny was so far ahead on value with the the 4 extra cards that he drew from the card whose name I've instantly forgotten, and the fact that he was so far ahead on Galakron invokes as well. He was probably going to lose the long game in that position anyway, even if he was able to just rip one Twisting Nether for that board or whatever else. But I think Bunny just had a very solid early curve and a very well executed early curve as well from the actual pilot.
Yeah, and we talked about Bunnyhoppor a lot and how good he is. One thing he doesn't do is really make basic mistakes that often. I can't even really recall any specific one moment that I've seen Bunnyhoppor like whiff, you know what I mean, and make like a sort of schoolboy error. So it's very difficult to go up against someone who's so consistent in terms of just raw decision making in a game of Hearthstone. Because I feel like a lot of the time, if the person who makes the most mistakes loses, as opposed to the person who plays the best wins, if that makes any sense, if you know what I'm getting at. So and Bunnyhoppor is so consistent in just playing well that it's going to be a tough one here, and he is on this rogue again. We saw the strengths of it last game, but this time he's going to be going up against this Galakron Warlock, so a little bit more defense here for Jarla, as he does have a lot of heal, he has a lot of AoE removal, the things he was kind of lacking in the Highlander rogue. But is it enough versus this rogue matchup? You've played this rogue deck more than I have, so, or at least close to it. How do you feel about Galakron Warlock?
I know in my experience that this felt like a very, very strong matchup from my side as the rogue.
Okay.
It just seemed like kind of the exact bread and butter thing that rogue is good at, which is, dealing with mid-rangey type minions very efficiently, and then pushing little bits of damage here and there, just gaining small amounts of tempo, and then you have enough chunky stuff that you're not susceptible to crazed Netherwing blowouts and that kind of business. So your only real scary AoE is Plague of Flames in the matchup a lot of the time. So it felt pretty strong to me as the rogue personally. But again, I think stealth package drawing cards may be more effective than secrets in this matchup, perhaps, which is what I'm used to playing. So maybe it's a little bit different when you have the secret package.
I think the key as well is with miscreants and with the capabilities these players have, messing around with your opponent's plague is very doable with this rogue deck, right? As you mentioned a little bit earlier, where you have so many lackeys, you've got so many throwaway minions that are more. The value is you playing them, not them sticking to the board necessarily. That Bunnyhoppor's going to make Jarla work for these plagues a lot, I think, this game. And I think that's going to be a key frustration for him. Nice little praise Galakron here on the miscreant on an empty board. Always nice to just make this do twice as much damage as it was doing beforehand, and also just get an early Galakron proc, or an invoke, sorry. Do you think it's worth an attack here? I don't think so, right? I think if the attack goes in, there's so many lackeys, right?
Yeah, there's so many lackeys, there's backstab, there's SI, potentially, all this kind of stuff. But if it was a more relevant minion, if it was like a 5/5 or a 6/6 or something that had to die eventually, then maybe banking that 2 damage into it would have been important, because you have Nether Breath in hand. But yeah, I mean, you don't really care if you're Jarla if this minion hangs around. Ugh.
Justice. One of the best 4 drops to one of the worst in terms of evolved targets.
Which he lackey giveth, which he lackey taketh away. Doubly obnoxious because Bunny just has to leave a 1/1 up on the board as well.
Yeah. I did wonder whether he was going to go, Titanic Lackey instead, or something else.
Yeah.
But I think just Miscreant's active with combo. You've got the mana, you've got the hand space.
Yeah.
Let him trade the imp, right? It's not the end of the world.
Yep. The smoothest of all invoke curves so far for Jarla, though, as the 4 into 5.
And I guess this is the real question for me, is how well will Bunnyhoppor be able to deal with, say, for example, an early-ish big Galakron from Jarla. Is that something you think he will struggle with in terms of either removal or setting up lethal through it? Obviously, the variation on demons is what it is, but generally speaking.
I think that's definitely the most difficult part of the matchup for Rogue, is if they do just get that turbo Galakron draw. It's not like you have just a clean AoE to deal with it. So you're usually like looking at like, well, I want to have some minions in play, and then I'll like flick their biggest thing and like trade minions in if I need to, just so it's not too much of a blowout. But Jarla's curve is so smooth here that Bunnyhoppor might even like find himself slightly behind when the Galakron comes down, and if that happens in this matchup, that's a disaster, because you just have no answer to that kind of board most of the time.
Yeah, Bunnyhoppor hitting the unfun thing about playing against Galakron Warlock is when you play a big minion and your opponent's not played Plague of Flames yet, you know your minion is probably going to die for 1 mana, which does hurt a little bit, but as I mentioned right at the start, Bunnyhoppor protecting his Van Cleef from Plague by going wide with a lot of useless minions is this is basically what you need to do to give it a chance of living. We can see with the trade it's going to go down to a Nether Breath more than likely anyway.
So many,
but still, it's as good as it was going to get for Bunnyhoppor, right?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings on the Rush Lackey trade there. I think using my Edwin with Rush where possible with Rush Lackey was something that I like caught onto in the matchup as well, because as you said, like Plague of Flames is pretty much going to kill your Edwin a lot of the time. And in fact, it's often a trigger in the matchup, right? Like, the Warlock player will always keep a Plague of Flames until they see the Edwin and then use that as their signal to actually use the Plague of Flames.
Yeah.
So I was also playing this matchup sort of trying to get immediate value out of Edwin by rushing it into something before it then, you know, inevitably died. But that exact trade, as you were saying, like, you open yourself up to a lot of other removal options, or specifically Nether Breath, to be able to take care of it instead. In this case, Tap Dark Skies apparently works as well, which I didn't count, but yeah, in that case, that kind of adds to that argument as well.
I wonder if it just didn't matter, right? Because he wasn't killing the shield anyway. Sorry, the shield would have done the same job anyway, the Shield of Galakron to Edwin. The trade would have happened one way or the other. And also, he gets the Rush Lackey on board and removes a minion that could be immediately added to his Plague of Flames.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just fine. I guess if you Edwin, you do it. The other route is to just not play Edwin that turn, I guess.
That's what I was getting. It's like, was there a turn there that wasn't an Edwin turn? That's what I'm getting at. And I'm not necessarily seeing it on a 5-mana turn there. I think the 8/8 with Rush was just too strong. But yeah. Big resource in the matchup, definitely gone down.
No dragon available for this crazed Netherwing. Probably a little bit frustrating for Jarla, as he could play it and use the Nether Breath to kill off the shield to clear the board and gain a 5/5. But he does have other options. Still can just continue the Invoke Train. Maybe even just use the Sacrificial Pact, because, again, just a reminder if you're not aware, Sacrificial Pact can't be used offensively ever now, as it has been removed from the ability from the card. It can only be used on your own demons, which means it is always going to be aimed at one of Jarla's minions if he chooses to play it.
Yep, it's fine. Your Jaraxxus is safe now, people. You can bring him back out of retirement. Except don't, because it'll still be bad. But you can.
I think I saw Viper playing that, you know.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't think he discovered it in any way. I think he was literally playing it in the deck.
Nice. Yeah, I like this. Makes the space. He will overdraw 1 card here. But that seems just fine when he already has Galakron in hand.
Right. And that's the biggie, right? The card he's going to overdraw is not going to be Galakron, so it's fine.
Bunnyhoppor, pretty straightforward stuff. Pretty easy Togwaggle turn. This is going to be a 1 game, sure.
Some notes, there is Alexstrasza and Zephrys in the list. Ooh. A little bit unfortunate there, but at least he didn't burn Alexstrasza or Zephrys either, so he still has plenty of punch in the deck. Again, though, Dark Skies plus maybe Reign of Chaos and Dark Skies. Oh, it's Reign of Fire, isn't it?
Yep.
Reign of Chaos, not random, by the way. The name of the Warcraft 3 game, so still relevant, guys. Just saying.
Okay, so if he Rain of Fires, the little guys die, and then there's 4/4 and 2 left on board, so 10 total. so he'll still be off with Dark Skies.
Hmm.
So
Would it be
many
horrible to just
possibilities.
I guess it's all about removal amounts, right, and adding up what you can use here, but I think this was enough of a push onto the board to show some level of respect and maybe go a little bit OTT in terms of removal.
Yeah,
Although
sure.
this is probably pretty nice, actually. Also giving himself some room in his hand by playing a couple of cards too, because it means that this second Veiled Worshipper can actually get its job done and start drawing some more cards.
Ugh. Very weak options off the Wondrous One. Missed a discount by hitting the backstab, and then just did not hit anything expensive really with the other two.
Yeah, normally with that kind of draw, you want at least one big thing for 0, right? Like one significant card. But not really getting any is rough. Do you work out whether he wants to backstab this imp?
I wonder.
Or whether he wants to bamboozle or not.
Choose soon.
And or both.
I think if you backstab, you bamboozle. Yeah, this makes sense, yeah. I think if you leave it up, you probably don't, right? Because you can do so much better than a 1-drop to a 4-drop. Or maybe not with Bunnyhoppor's 4-drops, never know. Never know.
So Jarla does have fully invoked now.
So many possibilities.
One small note as well is, although he has fully invoked, he does not have Alexstrasza, which is normally like the dream combo, right? You play the Galakron and then you Alexstrasza next turn and really pile on the pressure. Pretty solid Galakron as far as I'm concerned. Probably slightly above average though.
It's okay. It's for immediate minions. 0 dormants is often considered a win unless you're in a particular matchup or particular scenario where the long-term value of the dormant minions does pay off for you. But just getting 4 actual living attacking demons is always pretty solid.
And a fairly aggressive route as well. And you can. Ooh. Well, that needs to die.
It sure does. Because Bunnyhoppor's a rogue. He's pretty good at damaging himself on his own turns. Uh-oh.
Okay. Question. It's question time. Should Jarla have swung? Regardless of the fact the outcome was good for Bunnyhoppor, but should he have swung into the dragon? Should he have swung into the 1-1? Should he have not swung at all? That's my question. I think I wouldn't have even swung if it was me personally, but this did not end well for Jarla, did it?
With Nether Breath, he could kill any 8-drop with up to 9 health, which is, I'm going to fairly safely hedge my bet and say a lot of them. It just so happened he rolled Rocket 12, which is kind of miserable for it.
Of course, yeah. And then don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he shouldn't have swung because of this card, right? But I was wondering more with the way his hand was. If he left a 5-5 up, okay. If he left a 5-5 up with his
sorry,
board,
this play is insane. It almost didn't matter what this minion was.
Oh,
he was
the
just
double,
always going to run it back. That's actually really, really nice from Bunnyhoppor.
it turned out pretty good in the end, anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess my question was, with double Nether Breath, should Jarla have been looking at trying to sort of more become the aggressor instead of trying to trade away minions?
Sure. I can see that.
Because he had a lot of damage, and the weapon's 10. But now, there goes the board. He can clean all of this up, I believe.
Yep.
It costs him, but he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, specifically thanks to the Alexstrasza draw, because remember, he's been playing this whole game without the active Crazed Netherwing. He didn't have the dragon to activate it. So now that that's active, yes, he does have full clear possibilities available to him.
He could have had, like, a reasonable go of it if he played Veiled Worshipper first. I'm not exactly sure on numbers, but it's another 3 card draws to get a dragon. I'm not sure. He's got one more Netherwing.
You don't have mana for the Nether Breaths after that, though, which are required for some of the cleanup that you need to do.
If you go... Oh, sure, because the 2/2 damage, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, good draw. And then, a bit unfortunate, I think if Jarla knew he was going to draw Alex Straza, he would have done the previous turn a lot different. He's going to be able to clear this up most importantly, and that's all of his plagues gone because he did burn a Plague of Flames. So now the doors are open for Bunnyhoppor to almost go as big and wide as he wants, but we can see... Hold breath. Yeah, that is not really going to be a thing right now.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the option to do that. And
God,
I do like Jarla using the Plague of Flames there instead, because now with the Alex Straza draw, he has preserved his 2 Nether Breaths as burst damage now, which is actually pretty nice for him to be recognizing the opportunity for a counter punch and not just panicking and looking for a board clear there.
Yep. And this might be what Jarla needed, because those Discover options from Bunnyhoppor are unfun, I'll say. Just has to be Armageddon, right? Bunnyhoppor probably looked at what spells he had left in his deck and was like, wait, does this Druid Legendary get me there? No, never mind.
Ooh, okay, not active just yet.
Getting closer with only 10 cards left, and he has Veiled Worship.
Yes, I will destroy them.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, the Artificer was definitely one of the activators he needed for the Dragon Queen as well. Not sure if there's any others left.
Maybe. Fire everything and everyone!
Should Jarla consider just the run him out of stuff plan now? Because unless what exactly Galakrond is drawn, which Jarla's probably got a good read that it isn't in hand for Bunnyhoppor at the moment.
Yeah.
He can just burn him out of cards, right? Like, it is a general plan.
Yeah. I mean, I think the real story here is Jarla has a lot of luxury to do pretty much anything he wants now. I think he's turned the corner quite resoundingly.
Plague of Flames does it again, Sol. It is one heck of a card, isn't it?
Wait, you got a chip on your shoulder about Plague of Flames as well?
No, I'm just saying it's very powerful. That's all.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's like it's literally the card that makes the deck work, in my opinion. At least it's so powerful.
It's just you delivered it in that like resigned tone of voice that you usually reserve for like Res Priest.
Oh no! We're nowhere near there.
Okay.
But yeah, I just mean like Plague of Flames just really wins you games with this deck, doesn't it? In terms of just being able to dig you out of situations that in most decks you would not be able to dig yourself out. Also, just Flick having to come down now, just as some kind of not one board presence, but 2 just removal here for Bunnyhoppor, and it's not really what he wants to be getting.
Yeah, it looks like that Moarg Artificer was the last activator that Jarla needed, so his Dragon Queen is now live. It is 2 damage.
It's going to do 2, yep.
Unfortunately, that 2 damage really wasn't very useful at all.
It sets up the trade, right? To the Flick.
Sure.
Well, could just use Rot Nest instead. But now I wonder if you trade anyway, because this Moarg Artificer does work for both players.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I like this, right? He's done. He's won the board. The only thing that can go wrong is Bunnyhoppor gets some kind of crazy outcome here. But it's not going to be the case as Jarla does even up this series 1-1, getting a win with the Warlock and knocking out Bunnyhoppor's Rogue as well now. So 1-1 now, so all even. But the question is, does this Warlock have to kind of sweep now? Or has Jarla still got a good lineup versus Bunnyhoppor?
I still think Jarla is favoured in this series overall. The result I mentioned from the Swiss earlier in the week was, or yesterday even, kind of reflects that as well, with Jarla picking up the victory, and just, that control warrior that Bunny does still have remaining is going to really struggle to find a win in this matchup. Although I did theorize that maybe it could find a way to kill everything in the Warlock deck. So maybe now is the best possible time for Bunny to be throwing this out.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, we just got the graphic fix there. Sorry about that if you had a little look and wondered why Jarla lost his Warlock. It's not Conquest, it's Last Hero Standing. But anyway, we have a fixing now. Thank you, guys, for that. But yeah, it is 1-1. Both players losing out with their rogues now. So it is going to be Jarla's Warlock versus Bunnyhoppor's question mark. We're about to find out, as I believe they are getting into the game. But yeah, the Warrior deck, although I doubt it, I would like to see Bunnyhoppor pilot it, right? Because there's a difference between me and you jamming games and the person who brought it to a tournament who's very good at the game playing it. But we are not going to see it quite yet as we go into game. And number 3, Bunnyhoppor is going to lock in the mage.
Yeah, I am fairly comfortable with admitting that Bunnyhoppor is a better Hearthstone player than I am.
Only just though, right?
Oh, it's a fraction in it, yeah.
If Sol was in... Okay, question. What about when you were competitor Sottle, not caster Sottle? Do you think you could give Bunnyhoppor a run for his money?
Everyone now is way better than everyone was back then because we're just like X amount of years down the line, and everyone's way better about the game because our like collective understanding of the game has increased so much.
What a cop-out answer.
Okay, alright, fine. Relative to the skill level of everyone back then, I was still not as good as Bunnyhoppor is now back then.
Okay.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Look, that's a good question, Sol. I just want an answer, okay?
I gave you like 6 answers. How many do you want?
I wanted the one I wanted. Anyway,
okay.
Let's go into it now. Mulligans are done, and this is definitely, for me, a bit of a strange matchup. It feels like what we'll talk about earlier, where each player might actually take it in turns to be aggressor and defender. Because both decks have a lot of capability to do both. But right now, Jarla has 2 Dragon Blights, a Maniac, and a Veiled Worshipper in hand. So that is just the how to draw your deck and get Galakrond ready toolkit there. But Bunnyhoppor just going for the ramp. Oof.
Yep. Very rare, I would say, that you see Zephyrus played on 2 in Highlander Mage specifically, and Wild Growth is not the pick. It's usually when there's just something that needs to be backstabbed, or previously sacrificial pacted, I guess, prior to the adjustment.
Or even Animal Companioned against Demon Hunter sometimes. I've done it, put my hands up.
Really?
Yeah. You just roll that Hoffer on Mishra and Demon Hunter's just out of the game, mate. Come on.
What?
Hoffer wins the game against Demon Hunter?
Yeah, you get to kill one of their minions early game. That's insane.
Okay. So what you're saying is Animal Companion is just a bad diving griffin in that case.
Yes. Exactly.
Bunny considering value trade, which opens up Mortal Coil, versus just straight up trading for the 3-1.
What to do?
I think I like just trading the 3-1 away.
Also likely just considering as much as you possibly can.
Considering life, maybe?
Yeah. Life, the universe, and everything.
Yep. I do like that trade, though, mainly because you know it's going to die, and do you want to take 3 instead of 2 next turn? And with the ramp, I feel like Bunnyhoppor knows he's getting to late game quicker, so all he needs to do is survive it, right?
Have we talked about this hand, by the way? 5 invokes and the draw 3 invoke. Jeez. Yeah. Okay.
You definitely don't listen to me. It was literally my first sentence of the cast.
I don't. No, you're
Feels bad. You are being mean today, Sol. Your tweet was correct.
Your own girlfriend told me I was being too nice to you. What do you want from me?
To continue being nice.
Okay.
It was freaking me out as well, to be honest. Ice Barrier is active here along with this ping, which doesn't look like too crazy of a play, especially when the Dragon Breath is not live. If the Dragon Breath was live, maybe Bunnyhoppor would want to go fishing a little bit, but no need to. And yes, I did mention that this hand is pretty good. Mainly just... Obviously, the Invoke's great, and you need it for the card draw, but the card draw is so great because Jarla's seen Bunnyhoppor ramp, so he knows he's getting to his late game a little bit quicker. So Jarla can just counteract that to a certain extent by just getting through his deck quicker instead.
So it's around that time where Mage wants to start scamming, if at all possible. This is kind of the first check after the wild growth: is do they have the Dragoncaster payoff?
What to do?
And Bunnyhoppor
What
does
to
not.
do.
Is it ever a polymorph?
Ugh.
Well, my point being is, so Kartuk Defender doesn't do nothing, but doesn't really heal. It's instantly dead and cleaned up completely. And then the same with Bone Wraith, except at least with Bone Wraith you can ping, which, you know, again, not too bad of a play. But with Polymorph, you kill a 5/4 on a turn that you'd normally get farmed anyway, and you just leave some 1/1s up. I think this is unfun for Bunnyhoppor, but I definitely think it's the play there.
Yep. Definitely a look
Jarla's
away
like,
moment.
I'm going to invoke again. Never gonna. It's like, you thought I was out of invokes. How wrong you were.
I mean, the imps tell the story, right? If you want any idea of how this game has gone for Jarla, just look at the amount of imps that he has in play right now.
All we need now is to see Galakrond on 7. It's just on curve. And here's the question mark card: Volpera Scoundrel. Going to discover a mage card.
Impress me.
Well, Deep Freeze isn't going to accomplish much. For me, it's a puzzle box or a mystery choice. Often those two are the same thing in terms of outcome. So
Yeah, why take one mystery choice when you can take 10 mystery choices?
Yeah. Let's just work out the most efficient way to make space for more evoke proccing cards.
I wonder.
I think I'd really like to see double Mortal Coil be used this turn. Mainly because I think with this many invokes done, Jarla really wants to play Galakrond on curve here, right?
That's very fair, yeah. And then you can still use the Devoted Maniac as his form
Exactly.
of the Shield of Galakrond.
And I feel like against Mage, the taunt does more later anyway. So it has, like, you know, maybe more impact as a taunt late game than a 2/2 rush has versus Islander Mage.
Yeah, I kind of like that plan, honestly. I actually do get behind that. Giving yourself that one
You just want to play
extra draw.
Galakrond next turn, right? That's all you want to do. Especially if you've seen Bunnyhoppor's hand, it must seem weak with that polymorph play the previous turn.
Yeah. Even though Jarla did end up on this line, I think you saw the debate at the end, right? Where he was mousing to Devoted Maniac and to Coil and then back to Shield.
So with the trade here, we go to 8, 9, 10, 1 imp lives.
Yeah, but he has the
Or
ping.
what would Ton live?
Well, a 4/1
sorry,
would
he
live,
does.
and then
Yeah,
he has the
yeah.
ping anyway,
Yeah.
so it is a full clear.
We're gonna have some fun.
I say Bunny certainly needed that.
Yeah, all he needs to do is to get to turn 10 right now, right? Like, that is literally the plan. And it's often the plan as Highlander Mage, is get to turn 10, then start doing silly things. Also, this Coil is a little bit stranded unless he does it to his own imp that he summons as well.
Sure.
Does this warrant a Dark Skies, Sottle? Or do you think that Jarla can just let Reno live for a turn, especially considering there is a Plague in hand as well?
I think it's an okay Dark Skies.
It's just, if it's Dark Skies, it's a whole lot of nothing else,
Yeah.
is my worry.
But, you know, Dark Skies very quickly gets outscaled by the mage minions, right? Like, you're gonna clear 1 or 2 minions with it most of the time. Once they get into the territory of 3 or 4 minions, there's probably like 20 plus health on board, just based on the minions that they play in their deck. So it's okay, but I think Jarla sort of is somewhere in line with what we were talking about last term, where he is valuing just getting through his deck as efficiently as possible. He just wanted to have the 4-5 in play last turn, but I'm not entirely sure how that was necessary. Since it didn't even play around Reno anyway, I'm not entirely certain why the 4-5 was so important.
Yeah, and if we could live in a silly world, imagine the Maniac being a 4-5 now, right? Because that would be the difference, so to speak. Look a little bit better. But anyway, Tortol and Pilgrim going to hit the board. Power of Creation, Conjurer's Call in. Is this one of the rare moments where like Conjurer's Calling's better? Yeah, I thought so.
Whoa!
Wow. Doesn't matter though. Plague, mate.
I mean, this Lucenbark is coming back off that Cartoon Defender. That's kind of exciting.
True. It's true. I do agree that he's only kind of exciting though. It's not blowing me away, so I'm just like, yeah, okay, it's a bit different. That's about it.
All right. I'll try harder. I'll get you titillated. Don't you worry.
You get me pumped.
Yeah.
Bunnyhoppor, he's managing to edge towards that ever coveted 10 mana for mage. Whatever. Suddenly the rules go out the window.
All right. What if he manages to revive the Lucenbark with his puzzle box? Would
then I will
tickle
be
your fancy?
Quite excited. Yes.
Okay. All
You'll
right.
get me to the quite level. Looks like a box turn to me. So. Have a quick browse. Is there anything good to do? No good plays. Okay, 10 mana.
I mean, what's wrong with Cartoon Astromancer?
Well, boring. But you don't. Yeah, okay, fine. If you're gonna bring logical plays to the table, so I guess I'll have to agree.
Like, this Cartoon is kind of like, you know, playing another 4-8 at some point.
That's
you know,
true.
You
That's
kind of
true.
want to get it in play.
Oh. I wish you had the mana for like ping. Oh! No! Multiple loot. Okay, now I'm excited. Imagine the second Cartoon reses the Lucenbark twice.
Jarla chooses to kill the first Cartoon, then kill the Lucenbark, then kill the second Cartoon. This could be really interesting.
I'm sure there's an achievement unlocked somewhere for that.
Somehow, I don't think that's going to happen.
Unfortunate for Jarla. 10 cards left, no Galakron, when he had every single card that wanted to see Galakron in the deck within like the first 4 turns. Like showing up late to the party.
Everyone!
So this revives.
Yes.
And then Dark Skies has 8 cards in hand, so it deals 16, which is not quite enough to clear.
It just won't hit the Moag, it's fine. You could sack pack first. Oh no, because it won't work. I'm so stupid. Oh, I'm gonna stop saying stupid things.
The tap works. The tap is the full thing.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
He was. My point being, he was only 1 ping away.
But now,
Oh wow. Ah, that's what he's doing. He's gonna make sure Bunnyhoppor stays on full health for the rest of the game.
yeah.
The genius play. Box? Question mark?
Now there actually isn't another play. I will concede to you that there is no other play.
Oh, that's good for
that's
Bunnyhoppor.
Good, that's good for
Yep.
Bunny. Yeah, now he can heal and get his 4
Oh my, he can get 2 Lucenbarks.
Good. No, we're getting there. We're getting there. That's great. The nuts. Actual nuts.
Oh! 2 Lucenbarks is not gonna happen. I wanted to see the Pack Tactics Lucenbark go down. Well, that was one of the worst boxes I've ever seen.
Uh-huh. It's because the game knew it came off Pyrrha Scoundrel. It wasn't a real box.
Have you gone quiet for me on purpose, Saul, or is this just something I have to fix? Oh, okay.
Am I quiet? What?
You were, but I'll crank you up for me. It's fine.
I've changed nothing.
And you never will. Alexstrasza is live, and really, is he? Like, Jarla's not really got anything to fear, right? Is there a reason why you wouldn't?
Yes, yes, I will destroy them.
Scared of Reno, perhaps?
Yeah, I imagine so. He also still just really wants to draw and find that Galakron, right?
Move, and no one gets hurt.
Oh, what is Bunnyhoppor gonna draw? And is it gonna be bad or good from the Druid quest? That's a bit of a problem as well. Jarla can at least narrow down what this secret could be with an attack.
Yep.
And I think he can always aim it at the 3-5, right? I think this makes sense. This sort of crosses off a lot of them. Or a lot of the scary ones. And he has, at worst, the 10 mana Craze Netherwing to clear up like snakes, for example, if he's that bothered about it. Or pack tactics.
A shift in the skies.
But now what?
Hmm.
The Nether Breaths are looking attractive, but of course, you do always want to reserve them for burst damage as much as possible.
Almost out of time.
They are very strong here.
I think I like it. You want to reserve them, but they also save you a 5-5 and maybe a 5-1, but probably not, right? Yeah. Do you like the 1-1?
Yeah, it seems okay, honestly.
Life and hope.
I think leaving 2 pingable minions on the board is pretty reasonable there. Dude, Bunny and randomly generated Twilight Drakes. Name a more iconic duo.
And now the Dance of Death Bunnyhoppor has here versus the Plague of Flames. Normally when you're playing against Warlock and you play Alexstrasza, if they have not played both Plague of Flames, you have to always consider, is this worth, or do I play like one dragon at a time? If they are big dragons, of course.
Yeah.
Your feeble magic amuses me.
He's going to go all in, though. I think playing the Isera was always fine, because you kind of get the immediate value back from it anyway, even if he does then blow it up. But I think also here, playing the extra minion might actually be pretty smart here from Bunny, because Jarla is not yet in Galakron form, so he can't just summon minions with his hero power. And I think he's also played every invoke card in his deck.
I think that is true.
So to make a 4th minion here to blow up, he actually has to play like a real minion. In which case, Plague of Flames actually isn't that bad for you, right? If Jarla has to play a real minion and blow it up.
I think if you're ever going to go wide, it's like this exact point, isn't it? So really good recognition from Bunnyhoppor, for the things you pointed out. Luckily for Jarla, though, he does have a Nether Breath left, which means he can just Nether Breath the 4-1 if he wants to, and then just use the press the button. He also has Alexstrasza number 2, or genuine normal Alexstrasza, which means he can look at trying to set up some damage himself.
So this is the alternative I was going to suggest, which is play the Alex, blow everything up, and then play your 2-0 mana dragons, which is the biggest tempo swing you can make this turn.
I wondered actually whether he was gonna... Yeah, I guess. I thought that was going to be a good Krunk's turn, actually.
Where you want a Nether Breath, Plague of
Blow
Flames
the board.
Krunks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then you just have Galakron. Although he's got 3 cards left in the deck.
Is drawing a card actually good for him here? I kind of suspect it isn't.
Well, I think the game comes down to he plays Galakron, he plays Alexstrasza, he wins or he doesn't win. So, right?
Sure.
Because he's so far ahead, and if you can do that a turn quicker, does that help?
Sure.
Because the problem now is Galakron might be his last card. which is a big deal compared to if he just had it in his hand now, right? Even though there's only 3 cards left, there's a huge difference there.
Yep. Ah, yes. Like Artificer Nether Breath after your opponent Alex Strazes you. Delightful. Bunnyhoppor here just desperately trying to hold on to this removal that he has in hand because he knows he needs that for the Galakron when it comes down. This is a big turn for Jarla. Ton of healing and a ton of tempo on his side.
So many possibilities.
Again, I keep looking at the Kronks, but I guess he's just committed to it now. You know, just he's going to save the Kronks for damage afterwards, maybe some extra burst the turn after.
Yep.
But it's just like it's 3 turns away is my problem, right? Because he'd have to play Galakron, probably Alexstrasza, then Kronks. You know, like it's a long way away. Unless maybe he gets to the point where he can skip the Alexstrasza stage because he's already putting on pressure.
I mean, you do need that number of turns after you play the Galakron anyway, because your Pyroblast from your Claw comes over 2 turns anyway, right? So, like, you're always getting that 1 extra turn afterwards where the second swing comes through. Suddenly, Bunny's hand looking a little bit scary, although that Tiamat draw does open up the Awakens to be a full clear.
Yeah, I was just going to say, even if he just Awakens, it's not really the end of the world, although the 4 damage on top of the 5 is frustrating, a little bit scary, but yeah, looking a little bit nice. Oh, okay.
Alright, he wants to use the Conjurer's Calling because it got corrupted on the previous turn. Sure, it's fine.
I'm out of cards.
If the 2/3 doesn't die, that's funny.
The endless legends are at my core.
Is he gonna kill it?
Now, problems for Bunnyhoppor, because with the Claw, Amazing Arena sends it back up to 14, and then the weapon sends it back down to 9. What?
Yeah, that's what I said. The 2/3 makes a neutral card a legendary, right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sorry, it's not a neutral. It's just a card. If you draw a card, it transforms to a legendary.
Yes, every card gets transformed into a legendary.
Yeah, the neutral thing's something else, right? I guess it's
what to do.
Reno time.
Yeah, so as I said, Reno sends you back up to 14, and the weapon sends you back down to 9. And then if Soulfire doesn't discard Zephyrus, then Jarla still has lethal, which is a problem. He just has it anyway with Kronk Soulfire anyway. Yeah, he doesn't need the Zephyrus, it's guaranteed.
Oh, right, yeah. Wow, so holding on to the Kronks maybe not was the thing that guaranteed the win, but definitely helped out a little bit there to stop any shenanigans happening. Obviously, Reno could have healed him, for example, at the start of the turn. There would have been outs, but Jarla takes game number 2 with this Galakron Warlock, and is this the saving grace maybe for Jarla, this Galakron Warlock? A lot of players kind of threw in the dumpster after the Sacrificial Pact nerf, and we've seen it getting some work done already. Not looking too bad.
Yeah, it does mean we're now going to finally get some answers to some questions, Raven, of whether this Control Warrior can hang with a lineup like Jarla has. It also means if the Control Warrior can't get it done, then this series is going to exactly mirror the result that they had in Swiss earlier in the week, which was a 3-1 victory for Jarla.
Yeah, and honestly, again, we've talked about this a lot, but the Control Warrior is really the question mark, as you said, and when you think, like, does it have enough, like, defensive capability to beat Demon Hunter? Not that we saw. And then does it have the ability to beat a long slow deck like Galakron Warlock? Well, we're going to find out, right? So it's going to be very interesting how this plays out. I don't know if it's got the juice, but Bunnyhoppor is one, way better than both of us combined. And two, he's brought this deck for a reason. So let's see what it can do. The key cards here is the Grand Lackey Urk, as you guys were saying yesterday. I'm not sure if that's the official way to pronounce that name. But then there's Archivist Lysiana for the uber late game, Deathwing Mad Aspect. But really, the deck is just removal. It's like removal and some level of value, but at least when we were testing it, the Grand Lackey Ek did not feel fantastic. And then, you know, Alexstrasza is Alexstrasza. Elysiana extends the fatigue matchup. But my worry is, I don't think many decks right now are really playing fatigue. I think the value comes from a lot of pressure resources, right? It's a lot of cards that will beat your opponent up, not, okay, I'm just going to play nothing with removal until the game eventually ends 30, 40 turns down the line.
Yeah. I don't know if you misspoke earlier or what, but I absolutely think this deck will do good against Demon Hunter specifically. I don't know if that's the deck you meant to call out. I think, like, you can probably destroy everything in Demon Hunter and outlast the damage, right? Like, you have Sword and Board, Shield Block, you have Risky Skipper, Armor Smith, Bloodsworn Mercenary, nonsense. Like, I think you can absolutely outlast that deck. My issue is just when you try and do the same thing against a deck that has, like, actual resilient minions and value generation.
Right.
And Warlock has one of those things. It has big resilient minions, but it doesn't have, like, the infinite value generation of a Rogue Galakron or a Galakron Priest or anything like that. So I think this matchup is winnable. I think it's difficult. But I think of the decks that Jarla has, I think this is probably one of the ones that is perhaps winnable by a master player like Bunnyhoppor piloting this deck much better probably than I was.
Yeah, it's definitely a very interesting one, because also I think the weird part, or the hurdle for me, that I'm sure Bunnyhoppor is going to be very capable of, is when you choose to use removal, because Warlock also, especially with the invokes, makes a whole lot of trash. It's just a load of what it's like Paladin, right? It's like, I'm gonna go crazy here, but old Paladin versus Warrior, right? You could just make 1/1s every single turn and just chip away. And I wonder if that's ever going to look similar in this matchup. Obviously, you can't make Infinite until you get Galakroned out, but are the 1/1s like going to either soak up resources that they shouldn't, or is Bunnyhoppor just going to take damage every single turn from them? It's going to be interesting to see play out. We've not seen too much of this deck in action ourselves, but we're really about to, as Bunnyhoppor's going into Warrior versus Jarla's Warlock. Jarla only needs to win one game with this Warlock, and he takes the series. If Bunnyhoppor wins with this Warrior, it means that he continues to fight with the Warrior to take all of this, as this is, just as a reminder, last hero standing.
And you'll be forgiven looking at this hand, thinking it's a fairly standard no-hands warrior, but with an extra card in it. But we promise you, there is many, many differences. This is outright control warrior from Bunnyhoppor.
Job done.
Yeah, it's such a weird style of deck, isn't it? Because it's like everyone realized that the Risky Skipper package is just a good package to run.
Yeah.
And then some people have played bombs. Some people have played like combo-y stuff with brutes. Some people are going control.
Yeah.
But what remains the same is Risky Skipper and ways to AoE the board and draw some cards.
Yep. Insanely good card. And then there's Altruist.
Yeah. So now, Jarla not exactly getting off to his crazy invoke start he did in the previous game.
No.
Which means he's giving Bunnyhoppor time, and also, at the moment, presenting just 1-by-1 threats, if he even chooses to do so. And one of the worries that Jarla has here is how and when he uses removal, because Bunnyhoppor's not going to play too much to actually remove, and Dark Skies, Plague, Nether Breath, Rain of Fire, these cards have to go somewhere, because he can't just sit, he can't hold more than 10.
Yeah. And it's kind of ironic, I guess, or at least like the Alanis Morissette kind of ironic, like the 10,000 Spoons kind of ironic, that isn't really ironic, that he's, like, this is the game where he kept Galakroned, and he just hasn't been given a single invoke, whereas every other game, he's been turbo invoke and then hasn't been able to find the Galakron.
Yeah, probably quite frustrating. And in a long series like this, those things probably start to grate on the average player a little bit more as well, because you're like, oh, I played that game. Yes, I won, but I had all the invokes. Now, the one thing he needs is invoke cards. Bunnyhoppor, in the meantime, is going to present a minion though with this awkward dragon to deal with.
Yeah, and also Jarla just kind of let him have his Ankar there. He chose not to ooze it and just let him draw both risky skippers off the Ankar, which I found pretty interesting.
Let me have a quick look.
Looking for other weapons, there's a live wire lance, single copy.
Yeah. Because it's weird, right? A part of me initially was like, well, yeah, because it's drawing cards. So you want him to draw cards for fatigue, but he runs Elysiana.
Yes. He also runs Shield Block, Battle Rage, and all of these cards, and at least my understanding of me getting to grips with the deck is that you have to play those cards. It's not like you can just sit and wait and play Ultimate Fatigue where you draw 0 cards. Too many cards in your deck draw cards, so I think you do just have to play them. Yeah. So, like, Bunnyhoppor is going to be ahead in Fatigue if it does get to that point, up until the point he plays Elysiana anyway, so I don't think that's super relevant. Maybe he just considers the lackey more of a threat than the risky skippers.
Reasonable, especially with no invokes. Risky skippers aren't killing anything right now, are they?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, he found one.
There's one.
Yeah.
Do you ever consider Nether Breath on this Armor Smith?
So many.
So I feel like getting too much health is a real thing here.
Getting too much. Oh, the warrior, like, stamp. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Because with Galakron Warlock, you really do only have a window. It's not like you play Galakron Alexstrasza and the game's won no matter what. If they clear that board, that's often all you've got, right? So if Bunnyhoppor just gains too much health, then even the Galakron push, and there's AoE, which there probably is going to be, if literally the 1 or 2 turn punch you've got doesn't do it, the game ends not in Jarla's favor. At least from the way I would see it.
Right. Bunny forced to react this turn because he was starting the turn with 10 cards in hand. But this is Control Warrior 101. You want to learn how to play Control Warrior at least a decent level. Ask yourself 3 questions. Question number 1, do I need to do anything this turn? If the answer to that is no, great, you're winning. Question number 2, what's the most efficient removal piece that I can use to react to this board if I need to? No, sorry, question number 2, can I just develop ahead of what my opponent is doing? And then question number 3, what's the most efficient removal piece? And always do as little as possible. And Bunnyhoppor's turn kind of went down that checklist very efficiently.
And then there's the hidden question number 4. Why am I even playing Control Warrior?
Yeah. Yeah. Step number 1. Are you confident enough about your life choices to play Control Warrior right now?
For those of you confused in the chat, no, Moag Artificer does not affect face. That would be broken, which is why, although it looked like Jarla was going for the deal 8 to face play, he and everyone else knows that does not work. It was more just hand space.
Yeah, so the problem is, we're in this weird like control matchup vortex right now where Jarla needs to play cards in order to draw more cards because he needs to keep life tapping and finding invokes, so he can do threatening things. But actually, every card he plays is just then allowing Bunnyhoppor, in theory, to play a card who also has 10 cards in his hand. So if he wanted to, Jarla could actually create a weird stalemate here where he, stifles all the removal in Bunnyhoppor's hand by not playing cards. But he can't do that because he needs to draw these Shields of Galakron and so on that we've been seeing for the last couple of turns.
Yeah, funnily enough, he could have done that to a certain extent, and again, kind of now, where he can, like, Sacrificial Pact the Moag, he could Rain of Fire the Imps, you know what I mean? Yeah, use his own removal against his own minions.
Yeah, sure.
Even with, like, Rain of Fire later on, maybe, as well. Yeah. So he can remove the... It's like, who can remove the most minions this game? He's doing it, yeah. Get rid.
Sack pack the big one. does make Bunnyhoppor's Deathwing weirdly better in kind of a way. You know, it heals his Deathwing for 2 to take that minion off the board, which is the on-curve play this turn.
What now?
Whether or not Bunny really wants to tempo out a Deathwing here, I'm not sure if it's important in this matchup, because I would imagine Jarla's deck is always going to have an answer for it.
Yeah, and I was going to say the other side to this line, where does Jarla care if Bunnyhoppor plays Deathwing this turn?
Right.
And it's got 2 more health? Probably not.
Right.
So I think for both players, it's just one of those, again, just, yeah, okay, I go. I know what you're going to do, but I need to do what I need to do anyway. Kind of weird moments. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that in this game.
Yeah, because with this deck in particular from Bunnyhoppor that has, like, 0 tempo in it total, like, making the tempo play, like on the checklist that I was talking about earlier, probably just isn't super relevant, right? Because it's not like you can capitalize on that tempo in the long term. So instead of, like, looking for a Deathwing like you normally do, which is, like, create a big tempo swing with the Deathwing, you know, one of our testing games, for example, you played Sarah and then I played Deathwing, which was insane, right? Like, that's just an incredible tempo swing. Yeah. But that kind of thing just isn't, like, relevant in this matchup, I wouldn't have thought, and he wants to just make sure that Deathwing gets the most value as removal that it possibly can.
Yeah. And although this might be relevant in most Hearthstone games, I think it's displayed in matchups like this, where all you want to do is to be slightly ahead of a neutral outcome for both players, right? You want just that, your opponent to just use that maybe 1 card extra over the course of like 5 turns, if it needs be, than you, and then you just try and do that as often as possible.
Right.
What
So Livewire Lance now has been drawn for Bunny. Activating the Ooze in Jarla's hand again. Jarla is still 1 invoke short of his Galakrond, but he has, you know, done pretty well with picking up a chain of invokes off the top over the last couple of turns, which he was very likely to do because they're all in the bottom half of his deck, so, you know, you're going to draw them pretty often when you get down there.
Yeah, definitely not as extreme as the previous game, is it? The difference between Galakrond and invokes.
Right.
And now just a little bit awkward here. Gonna go for Shield Slam and just swing the weapon, not use the Blade Storm.
So that is both Shield Slams down now. I was interested in this list as well that it's 1 Brawl and 2 Blade Storms in Bunnyhoppor's list, which obviously Blade Storm is a much more situational card. You know, it's a much more like wrinkled brain cards. You can make yourself feel amazing by finding like a really cute Blade Storm setup that, you know, I did multiple times in testing, but it's just like, I could have just brawled here, you know, and it would have had very similar effect.
Honestly, the biggest difference for Blade Storm is you play it versus Demon Hunter on turn 3 or 4, and you probably clear their board.
Yes.
And that turns 3 or 4 is a lot sooner than 5 against Demon Hunter, so that's more than likely the reason for the earlier version of the removal.
Also, in matchups where you need it to be, it can also just be a kill 1 big guy card, which Brawl certainly can't. Like you can just kill what 1/8/8 on the board or whatever else. So I certainly think it's a strong card. It's just I'm not 100% convinced about the ratio of Brawls to Bloodstorm. But you are right in that Demon Hunter is warping the meta to the point where,
yes,
you know, 3 mana removals are what we are seeing from a lot of classes. You know, you look at Priest, for example.
Yeah, I think very much this week it is, am I banning Demon Hunter or am I not banning Demon Hunter is literally question number 1 when it comes to lineup building. Well, there's the Deathwing, and it looks like it's going to get a pretty good job done, just removal, and it is still alive on 2 health. Pretty easy to be dealt with here with either the Nether Breath or Crazed Netherwing, but or the Devoted Maniac,
lovely.
Which is perfect to deal with this, even better. I was going to say all those tools aren't great tools you want to use for a Deathwing on 2 health, but they're fine. But they stop you getting hit for 12. But yeah, the Devoted Maniac is
so many.
Do you still want to go Netherwing here? Maybe you could just craze Netherwing and then just play the Devoted Maniac afterwards?
I wouldn't be too upset with that. You just saw not the most normal AoE removal, but technically an AoE removal in the form of Deathwing.
Right.
Why not make another wide board?
Right, and it's like a big board the turn before you play Galakron, so it's kind of like asking for removal, and then you play like, you know, your ultimate trump card, I guess.
Peel the armor as well, just as a nice little bonus. Tap happened instead, which means that play is not available. So it's just Netherwing now. And you can really see that Jarla feels like he needs to win the game off his own, you know, like for him, right? Because he's tapping on 6 cards, whereas Bunnyhoppor's on 12. It's not even the fatigue matchups. It's not even worth discussion, right? Jarla will lose. So Jarla definitely is the one that's setting up for some damage, trying to make these boards to try and push and finish the game, whereas Bunnyhoppor wants to sit back as much as possible. And this Molten Breath is definitely going to help here. A very clean way to kill off this Netherwing.
Yeah, it's huge actually. Especially after both shield slams are gone, like the removal just for a straight up 5/5 was kind of just limited to that Molten Breath. But I think what Jarla's game plan here is that he wants to reduce the amount of time between playing Galakron and the end of the game as much as possible, right?
Yes.
So he wants to, there you go, he wants to have his Zephyrus active, his Dragon Queen active, he ideally wants to have Alexstrasza, and then he wants to get a fully invoked Galakron down, and then hopefully give Bunnyhoppor as little time to recover between that turn and Jarla finishing the game with burst damage as possible.
So many.
The frustration here is, unless the Galakron is got either a few really big dudes in it or maybe a dormant, Jarla knows there's no risky skip has been played. The Blade Storms are still knocking about.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of ways to clean up your average demon board. So it's not as if it's, oh, I've ran him out of stuff this late into the game and now Galakron's going to live or the demons are going to live. That they're almost certainly not. So basically, Jarla's going to get a turn of removal from Bunnyhoppor and the weapon from this Galakron. That's all he can really expect.
Third is a Dormant. Okay,
Yep.
fourth is a Dormant as well, and that is Felmore, which could potentially be 5 more attack.
Was that outcome actually like good? Question mark on there? Because
it was okay. I was debating in my head whether like 3 demons and 1 dormant was the best outcome, because then like if brawl happens, you keep one of your demons and then you still have the dormant guy to come up. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think at least 1 dormant guy was probably a reasonable outcome to play around AoE from Bunnyhoppor. The problem is the other demons just aren't like super aggressive to the point where they like massively demand AoE from Bunnyhoppor, which is
that's good though, right?
I think that's what led to Jarla having like adding the imps as well, right? Like if he'd have just got 4 Giga demons off this, he wouldn't be pressing the hero power because he weakens himself to brawl that way.
Well, I was gonna say, isn't Jarla kind of okay with it because Kronks can just buff the whole board and push?
Yeah, sure. That's
So
true,
it's-
yeah.
it's,
Like every
it-
board demands respect in that regard, I guess. Yeah.
And the Zephyrus, I mean, you know, Bloodlust, Soul of the Forest, so on, so on. So this is where Bunnyhoppor starts playing the game. Honestly, now he has to make strong turns as opposed to, no, you playing this? Oh, okay, I'll just kill it if I can. If I can't, whatever. Like the game starts now, basically.
This is what I'm talking about, just like situational removal. Even with a Moag Artificer in play there, Blade Storm just really did nothing. It was going to kill all the imps and then stop.
So now, my question, Sottle. Do you just cash in the Krunks now because it is kind of overall the least flexible? With no Alexstrasza, I mean, can he wait to draw Alexstrasza for the health, you know, for the 15 damage, air quote? Because I don't think he can.
He's not going to have a board to push with if he does that.
That's what I mean. So I think you just say, you know what, Krunks, go.
He'll push what, 5, 10, 14, 17, 20? That's a big number.
And then he has Zephyrus. If there's a big AoE, he can drop Alex and you know, hope for a refill on the board. He has Nether Breath as well. Like, I think if there's the fact that Bunnyhoppor just left this board up would force me to go Krunks at least. Is he just playing it slow?
Looks like it.
Oof. Oh,
He's even
so
debating
much damage.
he's even debating not activating Battle Rage there, I think. He got him to 30 and then stopped. Wow.
I don't think I like this turn.
The Battle Rage drawer has actually activated Dragon Queen Extrasa here. Not quite the way you might have expected.
I'll show you who's boss.
Oh, very nice lackey combo here with the risky skipper, right? It's a match made in heaven, those two.
Your flaws are your strength.
Yeah, I'm baffled. Was Krunks ever going to get more damage, or do you think like the taunt is more valuable later on?
I like the push there.
Okay. Bunnyhoppor choosing just how deep he wants to go down this rabbit hole of risky skippers, I think, then, and decided to just say, yeah, it's fine, and then just go for the shield block. Oh, yes! Get
Take
him.
it, boy.
I think one thing Bunnyhoppor does have to just keep in the back of his mind is the more he's drawing cards, the more he has to consider if he's relying on an Elysiana. He might not be, especially with the Kargath. If he's relying on Elysiana, he needs to make sure he creates the room to play it, as is ever the case with Elysiana, is 9 mana, which means it's effectively a whole turn.
Yeah.
And Jarla still has a lot of damage available to him.
Yes, and Bunnyhoppor has used both shield slams, which is very often your Elysiana buffer, if you can afford to save it, because you can Elysiana shield slam in the same turn, which you can't really do with any other type of removal.
Oh! That's a good one.
Waxadread is the actual boy. There was not a better card to get off Dragon Queen Alexstrasza than Waxadread, I don't think.
Yep, Soto complained a lot when I Waxadread him multiple times in testing. It's a good one. It's just a free minion every time. Well, not every time, but you know what I mean.
And also, it slows down fatigue to some degree.
Yeah, I always find that like a half-truth, right? Because it kind of does, but kind of doesn't as well.
Yeah.
Kargath, though, not a bad card, especially at this point in the game where Bunnyhoppor is going to draw it very soon. Because there's only 4 cards left in his deck. But what does he do right now? What are the removal tools? Because I'm looking through my spyglass here, so I don't really see too much.
Right.
Kargath with... Ooh. Wait, does he have sword and board? No, that's a bomb squad, isn't it?
It's a boom squad, yeah.
Oh, boom squad, sorry. I was just looking if it's like Kargath trade sets up a blade storm.
No, there's a 2/2 in the way.
Yeah, that 2/2 is actually very annoying right now.
Extremely, yeah. Is he going to make the value trade in Bloodsworn? He is, yeah. Okay. So he's getting himself 2 Kargath Primes into his deck.
He's just going to gain the armor from the lackey dude. Okay.
But there is just 15 on board.
Wait,
18
he's just
on
dead,
board
right?
even.
Was that always just dead?
18 on board, Kronk steals 5, 23.
Well, Zephyrus can deal additional 8, right, with Wind Fury.
Zephyrus Abyss? Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, or Zephyrus Wind Fury even, he is...
Oh yeah, Zephyrus Wind Fury was a million, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like, so... I am not immediately saying there was a better play there because I could not work it out with the removal he had, but should Bunnyhoppor just have expected to be dead there because there was a Krunks, because there was a Zephyrus almost certainly in hand?
I mean, yeah, I think he knew he was dead, but I just don't... I spent that entire... Like, our eagle-eared viewers might have noticed that you spent the majority of that turn talking. I was literally just staring at my spectator screen like this, just mousing over each card individually. I could not see a better clear than that. Like, I couldn't see a clear, I couldn't see a better defensive play. It's just honestly one of the objections I had to the deck, where it's just like he needed Brawl. It's just like Brawl is a magical card that can do things that very few other cards can do.
And also the difference, not only the dormant minions made, as I said earlier, you know, 2 dormant minions mean everything came out at a weird point, whereas Warrior really wants to go, no, your board is gone. That's it. Stop making minions. But also the 2/2, if that wasn't there, so if it was a normal demon, Kargath could trade into the Alex, make it 4 health, and then at least clear like an Alex and the I want to say Fellhound. That's not the name of the card. Fell something or other, Fell Dog, to clear that off and dramatically reduce the damage on board. But that just wasn't the case. The 2/2 was such a pesky little minion there in the way. But off the back of that, Jarla doing fantastic, moving through Group A. So not only did he make top 8 last week, he is now moving and is the winner of Group A, which means he is going to be playing on Sunday for you guys as well, and maybe cash in some more points for him, taking down Tice and Bunnyhoppor. It's not a bad day for Jarla already.
No, not at all. I think even in that world, by the way, Jarla might have still had lethal, because he would have still had he would have still had like the 7/1 Waxadread, which you can still win Fury, and 14. Then you still have Kronks, and like he had 1,000,000 damage essentially that game. Yeah. And you can also reflect on the way Jarla played it, which, you know, obviously I'll confess, and I'm sure you'll back me up, is I don't have a ton of experience with or against Control Warrior in current meta, which is why we spent a lot of our time yesterday practicing it. But you can see like how patient Jarla was being with his sort of pushing the game towards the end game, which kind of confused us. But like, if you're going to get into that position at the end of the game where he still had minions to spare, damage to spare, massive overkill, like maybe that level of patience was justified still from Jarla. Maybe he just understands.
Yeah, I was really surprised, but the more I think about it, with a lack of, say, Plague of Wraths or anything like hard removal, it feels like in the list, and this is just what we've seen of it, it's not tons of games, but there's like, oh, this removal kind of does this, and this piece of removal does a bit of that, whereas it doesn't feel like anything meshes together for like a strong removal turn, because even if there was Blade Storms and Wraths, you can say, well, at worst, I can Blade Storm Wrath for 8 mana and clear any board, right? Like, at worst, that's like a bad outcome most of the time, whereas nothing felt like it pieces together well. It's just a lot of singular good removal cards, but that doesn't seem like it's enough if a deck's got that much beef behind it, I guess.
I think in the interest of balance, we should state, because, you know, the Control Warrior, we spent a lot of time like talking down the Control Warrior 4